Okay, so I wanted to just make sure that we all knew kind of what was going on. I think several of you were confused. I know class has been a nightmare between not being able to see us, and I know I didn't just decided not to do it so you guys wouldn't have to have another cell phone class on Monday. But there is a folder on Blackboard that has everything about those presentations that you'll need to know. And I just want to be clear about the assignment for what's due for next class on Monday night. So the presentations themselves are due on Monday night, like we had originally planned. So there are four choices, as you know, in the folder, you can see them. There are four choices. There's a service project where you will go and volunteer somewhere for at least 20 hours, and you need to be able to talk about the communication within that organization, kind of nonverbal, verbal messages, group communication, anything that's going on that's communication between you and other people, between the organizers and the volunteers, between the public if you're serving the public, things like that is what you'll want to talk about. Another choice is your nonverbal TV movie analysis. So for that one, you're going to take a clip, 2 minutes or less, of any kind of video from a movie or a TV show, or if you want to do a commercial, you could do a commercial as well. So in that one, you're going to analyze the nonverbal specifically from the clip. So during the presentation, you would be playing it for us, not all at once, but just pieces of it, and then like breaking it down and talking about the appearance, the facial expressions, the kinesics, the proxemics, all the things about nonverbals that we talked about in class, and really discussing how they impacted the scene and how it would be different without it, etc. So for all of these, what you want to make sure to do is use the terminology in the textbook, or not the textbook, but in class that we talked about. Another choice is the collage, where you can take anything that we've talked about, anything that you wanted to investigate. Some examples include like how women are portrayed in magazines, or how minorities are portrayed in commercials, or you could just talk about relationships and show representations of that. So you would make an actual collage on a poster board. There's no specific size, but it needs to be bigger than like a piece of paper. It would be something like a traditional poster board size, and fill that with images, quotations, lyrics, really anything that you want, anything that would be in a collage. And the fourth choice is the intercultural interview, where you find somebody from a different culture than your own and you interview them and try to figure out what's similar, what's different about your cultures, get at their cultural values, high context, low context, masculine, feminine, things like that we talked about with the diversity chapter in chapter 6. For that one, you will also need to turn in a list of questions. So for the actual presentations themselves, what you will need is an outline. So you're speaking from an outline. The video that I posted kind of talks about outlining, but what you really want to keep in mind is you need three parts. You need an attention getter. For the intro, you need an introduction, you need a body, and a conclusion. So what I want you to do is, I do not want you to write out an essay of any kind. There's no paper involved. You shouldn't write out word for word what you're going to say. You should just have an outline that you are speaking from. So I will post on Blackboard a discussion board forum or some sort of assignment so that you can all attach your outlines onto that, so I can look at them for review, because I know Salisong won't be able to take them up in person. So I'll put up something that you can post that with. But that is what you should be speaking from. So it should not ever be an essay or any sort of formal paper, nothing word for word. It should just be outlines that you are elaborating from. So in the intro, you want to make sure you have an attention getter to start with. So that's something that will hook your audience in. So it's going to be a quotation, a shocking statistic, a question to the audience. These are all good examples of attention getters. Something to get us interested in what you're talking about. You definitely want to have a thesis statement that is one sentence summary of your entire presentation. So an example could be, I interviewed Sharon from this kind of culture and I learned about how we are similar and different. Or I volunteered at Peachtree Hospice for 37 hours over the course of the semester and this is what I learned. Or I chose to make a collage representing relationships. Just something simple that's exactly what your presentation's about. You should also have a preview that kind of lists what your main points will be that you talk about. So for the body itself, you can break that down in lots of different ways. You can either go, section by section through a video if you're doing nonverbal. You can have 3 main highlights or 4 main highlights from the collage and then kind of talk about that underneath. It just really depends on your presentation, how you want to break it down, but you should organize it in some way that makes sense that we can follow along with you. The last thing you want to have is a conclusion that's going to review your main points. So just kind of go back over. We talked today about haptics, about kinesics, and about proxemics. Maybe those are your 3 main points. Or we talked today today I took you through 2-minute clip of the movie Sleeping with the Enemy. Maybe that's your presentation. So you talk about exactly what we did in a review. Then you restate your thesis again. So it's the same thesis that you had from the beginning. And then you have a wrap up. So your last thing that you say shouldn't be, that's all I got, I'm done. It should be something that sort of brings us to a conclusion, to an end. So maybe if you asked a question in the first part of for your attention getter, maybe you say, now we know the answer to that question. Or if you had a quotation, maybe you say, now we know what that person really meant. Something to where you bring it back to the attention getter is the best way to go. Something that's final, that really shows us it's over. So I hope that helped. I know I had a couple of questions about exactly what was due. So the presentation is due. It should be 4 to 6 minutes long. You should speak from an outline, and those are your 4 choices for your project. So if you guys have any questions or still don't really quite understand or need some help with it from me, then feel free to email me or give me a call in my office during my office hours. Thanks.